Hello, I'm James Harvey, the professor of music theory at the College of Southern Nevada with 5-Minute Music Theory. We're going to hit the timer and I'm going to introduce the next series of videos on 7th chords with just a few bits of information about how to work and deal with 7th chords. It's really very similar to triads, we just have that extra chord member, and there's a few extra things we do have to worry about with 7th chords. Now first, when you add a 7th to a triad, it doesn't change the function in most cases. In fact, it usually strengthens the function because of that extra spiciness that's given by the 7th. There is an exception to that, however, the tonic triad. If you think about the function of the tonic triad and the purpose of it, it's to be home base. It's to be the resolution, ultimately, of all the other chords. And if you add a 7th to it, that inherently adds some dissonance to that tonic triad. Therefore, it no longer has tonic function. So we do have to watch out for that when you put a 7th on a tonic triad, it no longer has a tonic function. We'll deal with that in a later video. What I want to talk about are two little details about 7th chords in this video before we start doing some specific chord progressions. So in this video, I want to show how to deal with the 7th in a simple 2-chord progression here, a dominant 7th to a tonic. So I'm going to write this dominant 7th. Let's do it in really closed position here. G, B, D, F. It's a G7 chord in C major. The things you have to watch out for. Still, you have to worry about all your part writing rules like tendency tones and stuff like that. So if this B here, if it were in the soprano, I would have to resolve it to a C, but I don't because it's not in the soprano. If I can, it'd be nice, but I don't have to. Now what I need to do next is identify the 7th. The 7th of the chord is what we're looking for. And what we need to do is, once we found it, 7ths resolve down by step. Down by step. So that F is the 7th. It needs to resolve down by step to E here. That's 100% of the time, by the way. It's not... That's not in specific voices. It's 100% of the time that the 7th needs to resolve down by step. Be very careful not to confuse the chordal 7th with a 7th above the bass, which it's the same in this situation, but if you're dealing with an inverted 7th chord, it won't be a 7th above the bass. It's going to be the chordal 7th. And if you're thinking about this as a G7 chord, G, B, D, F is the 7th, whichever voice it appears in, that's the chordal 7th, and it needs to move down by step. So I've moved that down by step to an E. I'm going to move my bass down to a C. I can't go up because I would have voice overlap. Now I have a C, I have an E, I need another C, and I need a G. The C, it would work pretty well here in the tenor voice, but then we run into a problem because there's nowhere to put the G in the alto voice. So instead of going up to C, I'm going to do what's called frustrating the leading tone in the tenor voice, and instead of resolving it up to a C like we would have to if it were in an outer voice, we're going to resolve it down to a G, and it sort of frustrates it. It doesn't get to do exactly what it wants to do, but it actually is not an error in any way to do that in an inner voice. Then what's remaining is C, and we have a nicely voiced chord here, two nicely voiced chords. Now, very quickly before we're done, I want to talk about complete versus incomplete 7th chords, and I don't need the tonic for this. So what I wrote was a complete 7th chord. Oops, this is a G7. I could voice this in any way. I can voice it like this. There's a complete 7th. That's supposed to be a B. So that's complete. In most cases, you want your 7ths to be complete. However, in certain situations, it might help your voice leading to use an incomplete 7th chord. To do so, what you need to do is double your root, and then I need to omit the 5th of this. So I still need a B, and I need an F like this. I used the stems so that you could see that I doubled that G. So the best chord member to omit is the 5th in a 7th chord. So if you need to, you can omit the 5th, and in fact, it almost has no impact on that chord. The chordal 5th is the least important part of that chord. In very, very rare situations, you can eliminate the 3rd, but I'm going to recommend that you never get rid of the 3rd because you never really have to. Sometimes you will have to get rid of the 5th, though, just like we've done here, and that's called an incomplete 7th chord. It still has exactly the same function, exactly the same everything, it just doesn't have that chordal 5th. When you omit the chordal 5th, you must replace it with a doubled root, which we have done here. So there's the incomplete version, and then I'll do a complete version here. Actually, let's do a different voicing. Let's do, so they're similar. G, we'll do D, there's an F, and there's a B. Just like that. So we have the incomplete here, and the complete here. Both do the exact same thing. It's just one or the other might help your voice leading in specific situations. So now in the next few videos, we're going to cover some really specific chord progressions involving sevenths. Just remember, you can use incomplete or complete seventh chords. You can also you can omit the fifth for the incomplete chords. You also have to resolve sevenths down by step. Thank you.